Is it okay that my boyfriend is trying to convince me to let him do the dirty with my cousin? My boyfriend used to be my sneaky link before we made it official. At the beginning, neither of us wanted a relationship, but the more we kept hooking up, the more we wanted to be with each other. So naturally, we hung out all the time, and he asked me to be his girlfriend. And of course, I really wanted him to ask me, but I would never bring it up myself. So when he finally did, I said yes. But here's the thing. My boyfriend asked me if we could have an open relationship when we started. At first, I said no, but then I thought about it some more. If he wants to see other girls and cheat on me, he will. And because of the way we started, I knew what he was like. So I thought to myself, it's probably better to just have an open relationship than to be wondering if he's cheating on me. So after a few weeks of me asking him, I said yes. But I laid down some rules. If he was gonna hook up with somebody else, he needed to tell me. He kept telling me that it was better to just not talk about it, but I told him I wanted to know the truth. A few months into the relationship, everything was fine. According to him, he was not hooking up with anybody. And I know that I wasn't either, even though the option was there if we both wanted to. This is around the time that my cousin came home to visit from college. Growing up, everyone thought that her and I were identical twins. We really do look so much alike. We both have the same exact body type, really similar features. We both have long black hair, and we even dress the same. So it's natural that people thought we were sisters. I told my cousin about my boyfriend and she wanted to meet him. So I had a dinner at my place. As soon as my boyfriend saw her, he basically started drooling. It made me so angry, but I had to keep my cool. Throughout the dinner, my boyfriend kept complimenting her. He talked about how much her and I looked alike and how it would be any guy's fantasy to watch us do it. My cousin was super uncomfortable, so I asked him to stop doing that. Part 2 is it okay that my boyfriend is trying to convince me to let him do the dirty with my cousin? Because we have an open relationship, he feels like he can do certain things in front of me. For example, like flirting with other women in front of me. While we were having dinner with my cousin who was visiting, he kept making comments about how hot she was and how her and I look exactly like twins. My cousin was clearly super uncomfortable, so I asked him to stop, which he did. That's when my boyfriend dragged me into our bedroom and asked me if he could do it with her. I said absolutely not. One of the rules in our open relationship is that we can't choose anybody we already know. He told me that he technically did not know my cousin. I told him family was off limits. He asked me to think about it. I drove my cousin home and that's when she told me that my boyfriend was really hot. And I was shocked. I thought she was uncomfortable at dinner. I pulled the car over and asked her if she was interested in him. That's when she said she overheard our conversation. Yep, she heard when my boyfriend was asking me if he could do it with her. She started to laugh and told me that it was okay and that she wouldn't tell my parents. Then she told me that an open relationship is always a bad idea and that nothing good will come of it. I asked her again if she was interested in him and she said maybe. She says, you should just let us do it. Part 3 is up. Is it okay that my boyfriend is trying to convince me to let him hook up with my cousin? That's when my cousin tells me you should just let us do it. I looked over at her and I said, are you crazy? And she said, if you guys already have an open relationship, what's the difference? I told her I wasn't going to be comfortable with her and my boyfriend doing it, and that she needed to get that idea out of her head. And she started trying to do reverse psychology on me. She said if I didn't let them do it, that he was going to eventually resent me, and that he would see me as the bad guy, and that he'd probably start looking for other girls. I could not believe that my own cousin was trying to do that to me. I started to cry and I asked her if she loved me at all. She then hugged me and says, of course I love you. This is the best thing for your relationship. Part of me started to actually believe what she was saying. I thought maybe he will resent me if I don't let them do it. After that, I didn't talk to my cousin for a few days. During that time, all my boyfriend did was ask me if he could see her again. I made the mistake of telling him that my cousin was down, and then he started pushing even more. He promised me he would only do it with her once, and that nothing would change between him and I. Here's the other thing. There's a guy who's always asked me out on dates, but I always say no. He contacted me and told me that he was finally single and that he really wants to see me. I told my boyfriend that if he was going to do it with my cousin, then I could do it with this guy. That's when my boyfriend said no because I had feelings for this guy. He's arguing that he has no feelings for my cousin, and that if I do it with this other guy, it would be like cheating because I do have feelings for him, which is true. I don't know what to do, and I am so confused. I could just go behind my boyfriend's back, but part of me feels guilty. What should I do?
Am I the asshole for telling my wife the lock on my daughter's door does not get removed until my brother-in-law and his daughters are out of our house? My brother-in-law Sammy lost his home shortly after his divorce 10 months ago. He moved in with us and brought his twin daughters Olivia and Sloan, 18, with him a couple of months ago. His sister, my wife, and I have one daughter, Zoe, 16, and she and her cousins aren't close but get along fine. Olivia and Sloan have no respect for Zoe's privacy, none. They used to walk into her room and take everything they get their hands on. Makeup, phone, accessories, clothes, school laptop, etc. Zoe complained a lot, and I've already asked the girls to respect Zoe's privacy and stop taking things. My wife and Sammy saw no issue with this. After all, they're girls and this is typical teenager girl behavior. I completely disagree. The last straw was when Zoe bought a $60 MAC makeup kit that looks like a paint set that she saved up for over a month, and one of the girls, Sloan, took it without permission and ruined it by mixing shades together while using it. Don't know much about makeup, but that's what Zoe said when she found the kit on her bed and was crying. I told my wife and she said she asked Sloan to apologize, but I got Zoe a lock after I found out she was moving valuable belongings out of the house because of this incident. The girls were extremely upset. Sammy asked about it and I straight up told him. He said, "My girls aren't thieves. It's normal that girls of the same age borrow each other's stuff." He said that Zoe could easily get another makeup kit for $15 from Walmart and shouldn't even be buying expensive adult makeup in the first place, and suggested my wife take care of this defect in Zoe's personality, trying to appear older than she is. Oh, this is where the claws come out. He accused me of being overprotective and babying Zoe with this level of enablement. I told him that this is between me and my wife, but she shamed me for putting a lock on Zoe's door for her cousins to see and preventing them from spending time with her, saying I was supposed to treat them like daughters, then demanded I remove it, but I said this lock does not get removed until her brother and his daughters are out of the house. She got mad I was implying we kicked them out and said her family will hate me for this, so I reminded her that I let Sammy and his family move in, which is something her own family refused to do, so she should start with shaming or blaming them for not taking their own son and nieces and granddaughters in. If it wasn't for her family's unwillingness to help, we wouldn't be dealing with this much disturbance at home. Everyone's been giving me and Zoe silent treatment, and my wife is very much upset over this. Go dad, good for you.
Is it okay that my boyfriend insists on me washing myself before any sexy time? My boyfriend and I have been together for 6 months, but we've broken up 4 times. Altogether, we've probably only spent about 3 months together. He pursued me really hard. We met at work, and the first day we met, he asked me out. I kept saying no because I really don't want to focus on guys right now. I have a really good career in fashion, so dating was not in my plans. Kept on insisting and doing very nice things for me, like he would bring me my favorite coffee or bring me my favorite foods. I finally said yes when he brought me a basket full of my favorite snacks from Whole Foods. He told me that he basically went around asking everyone what they saw me eating, and then he went to Whole Foods and bought everything and made a basket for me. I was really flattered, so when he asked me out again, I said yes. I thought maybe he'd be a really kind and just considerate guy, but things are not like that. We went on a total of 5 dates before anything happened. When it finally came time to doing it, we were at my apartment and he insisted that I go take a shower. When I asked him why, he said he prefers for everything to be clean. Obviously, I got offended and said, I am clean. He then rolled his eyes and said, okay, never mind. And then we did it. Part 2 is up. Is it okay that my boyfriend insists that I wash myself before any sexy time? When he told me he wanted me to be clean, I said I am clean. So we proceeded to do it. Everything was pretty normal after that. He was really affectionate and kept complimenting me. A few days later, it was going to be our second time. But before anything starts to happen, he once again asked me to go take a shower. I asked him if I smelled bad or something, and he said, no, I just think that you should take a shower. I decided to keep my cool and I went and took a shower. But the routine stuck. Every single time we were going to do anything, he would ask me to go take a shower. Now I wonder what you might be thinking. No, I do not smell bad. I usually take 2 showers a day anyway. One in the morning after working out, and then one at night before getting into bed. So I know I don't smell bad. But now it's a total inconvenience. Every time we want to do it, he asks me to go take a shower. Even if I'm dressed, even if I have makeup on. So I started avoiding it at all costs. Anytime he would ask me to do it, I would just say no. Because of this, we actually broke up for 2 months. When we got back together, it was the same exact thing. Once again, I was taking a shower every single time. Part 3 is it okay that my boyfriend insists on me washing myself before any sexy time? I actually even began associating sexy time with being dirty. Because he would insist so much, I would actually start to feel shame. I knew that I was clean and I washed myself multiple times a day, even when I knew I wasn't going to see him. I decided to reach out to an ex-girlfriend of his on Instagram, and I asked her if she had the same problem with him, and she proceeded to send me paragraphs and paragraphs of all the things that he made her do. Not only would he make her shower before sexy time, but he would make her brush her teeth before kissing, and fully removing her makeup too. I told her that my theory was that he must have had a bad experience with some other girl. Then she told me her theory, that he likes being in control, and that the only reason he asked us to do all these things was so that he could feel in control. By the way, her and I are now friends, so here's what I did. The next time I saw my boyfriend, I asked him to take a shower. And guess what? He got totally offended. I pulled him up on the fact that he makes me shower every single time, and he said that I should be happy to do whatever it takes to make him happy. Now I refuse to take a shower whenever he wants me to. And because of that, he's always in a bad mood. He even told my best friend that I wasn't a considerate girlfriend. How dare he complain to her? Now here's the thing. I'm very attracted to him and I feel like I'm falling in love with him, but this is the only thing that's holding me back. He even mentioned moving in together. What should I do?
Am I wrong for telling my ex to stop giving my daughter lunch money? I have a daughter, Emily, 16 female, with my ex. She chose to live with my ex and his wife and kids the majority of the time because she has to share her room with her stepsister Laura, 15, at my house. My ex gives Emily $25 a week to buy lunch. Emily's and Laura's school is down the street from a lot of restaurants, so instead of buying school lunches, she leaves campus to buy herself and her friends lunch. Okay, I don't see the problem here. The problem is she sees Laura at school and won't get her anything even though she gets her friends lunch all the time. Why should she do that? I talked to Emily about it and she said it's because her friends pay her back and Laura can't. Valid point. I agree. Emily knows we can't afford to give Laura that kind of money, and I know she works part-time and gets an extra allowance from her dad, so I asked her to occasionally buy Laura lunch to make her feel better. She refused. I called her dad and hoped that as a parent he'd understand what I was trying to do, but he said Laura's feelings are not his or Emily's responsibility, and that if she wants to buy lunch off campus, she should get a part-time job like Emily. Facts. I tried to explain that Laura is in sports and she has ADHD and depression, so it would be hard for her to work, but he said that's mine and my husband's problem and hung up. What? Don't try to hold a pity party, okay? Laura came back home the other day crying because Emily came back with food from her favorite restaurant and didn't give her anything or offer to share, so I called my ex and told him that he needs to stop giving Emily lunch money and have her make her own lunches because she was hurting Laura. You can, what? Why are you being so inconsiderate of your daughter's feelings? Like, I get they're both your kids, but what? He refused to listen to me and told Emily that I'm telling him not to let her go out to lunch because of Laura, and Emily hasn't spoken to me except to say that she's going to stay at her dad's full time for a while. Poor girl. Like, you cannot force relationships onto people. Like, am I wrong for ruining my work colleague's wedding and getting them arrested? The title sounds bad, but hear me out. I, 38 female, had two work colleagues, Mary and Adam, both in their late 20s, early 30s. Mary started in the company first and then she got Adam to join. They worked in different departments and Mary was in mine. Later, Mary left the company to pursue another career. When they started at the company, they were already married for a few years. Now, Mary is the kindest and loveliest person I've ever met. She was always polite, helpful, and would cheer anyone up. So it came to a shock when we found out that she is divorcing Adam because he has cheated on her. I had called to express how sorry I am that this has happened to her, and we've been talking daily ever since. I was impressed how well Mary holds herself in such a situation. She wouldn't badmouth Adam, and the only thing she mentioned was how her wedding dress and a few family heirlooms went missing when she was moving her stuff from their apartment. She thought they might be misplaced in a different box and will turn up eventually. A few years passed. I now work in the same department as Adam. He is a good work colleague but can be dismissive and ignorant sometimes. Adam invited me to his wedding with the lady, Chelsea, he cheated on Mary with. As the entire department was invited, I said yes, making sure Mary was okay with this. I've also told her where the wedding will be because it's not too far from where she lives and we can go grab some drinks after if she wanted to. On the day of Adam's wedding, I had noticed that Chelsea was wearing a similar dress that Mary had worn in the photos of her and Adam's wedding years ago. So without thinking, I had snapped a picture and I sent it to Mary with the caption saying, "Doesn't this dress look familiar?" Mary saw the message but didn't respond, and about an hour later the police showed up at the venue. I need to add that the police in our country is ruthless and any theft is considered a criminal matter for the police to deal with. Police had asked Chelsea to take the dress and all the jewelry off. Chelsea refused and started arguing with them, and then Adam joined in. Everyone at the wedding had to leave. I had tried to call Mary, but she wouldn't pick up the phone. As we found out later, Chelsea was wearing Mary's wedding dress and her heirlooms. Mary spotted them on her in the picture I sent her and called the police. Apparently, she had previously asked Adam if he had them, and he declined, saying he never saw them. So, after she saw the picture, she knew he was lying and stole them. Chelsea had to leave the wedding dress and jewelry at the police station and go home wearing her underwear and Adam's jacket after they were bailed out. Yesterday, Adam returned to the office and went completely mental at me, blaming me for sending a picture to Mary and ruining his wedding. He would also call me an asshole for what I did.
Storytime about how my husband hired a really hot assistant and now I want him to fire her, but he won't. Am I the asshole? Disclaimer, this is not my storytime. It's sending me on Instagram. My husband and I have been together for 4 years. Now, I've never suspected him of cheating, but I have caught him lying to me a few times. A few years back, I checked his Facebook Messenger and caught him messaging another girl. The messages weren't exactly inappropriate, but they were definitely flirty. When I asked him if he was messaging anyone on Facebook, he denied it. That's when I unleashed the beast and told him that I had seen the messages. That's when he told me that he wanted to break up because he didn't want to stop messaging her. This was some random girl that he had met at his job. We actually did break up for a few days, but then he literally begged me on his knees to stay with him. Then I caught him lying a second time. He told me he was going out to dinner with a friend of his who I already knew, and it was a woman. I had no problem with him going out to dinner with her because we already knew each other from a few years back. At the time, I was away for work. After 8 hours, he still hadn't messaged me. I decided to call him, but he didn't answer. That's when I tracked his location and realized that he was somewhere in the city. He finally messaged me telling me that he was home and he was trying to get to sleep. I took a screenshot of his location and sent it to him. Then he called me begging me for forgiveness. He told me he thought I'd probably get jealous if he knew that he was still with her. Obviously, I wasn't gonna get jealous, it was just more upsetting that he lied to me. All of that was a few years ago. Since then, he's always been on his best behavior. About a year ago, my husband started a new company and it's been very successful. So successful that he's hired a full staff. Up until now, all of them have been men. But about a week ago, he told me he needed an assistant. That's when I told him I knew a friend of mine who needed a job. This woman is much older than us and would never be interested in my husband. But my husband told me that he was looking for somebody younger and someone that was interested in the field of work. A few days after that, he had finally hired somebody. I didn't really think anything of it though. By the way, I work in financing, so I'm usually working from home. My husband and I usually meet up for lunch, so I decided to go pick him up from work. But when I got there, a young hot girl asked me if I had an appointment to see my own husband. I told her I was the owner's wife and she laughed it off. She then apologized really quickly but didn't really mean it. Let me tell you how this girl was dressed. She wore a crop top and super tight leggings. She also had a full face of makeup on and her hair was freshly curled. It looked like she was dressed to go to a club. Or at least trying to impress someone. Part 2 is up. Part 2, am I the asshole for wanting my husband to fire his hot assistant? Disclaimers and on my Storytime, send me on Instagram. After I told her I was the owner's wife, she made sure to stand up and show off her body to me. That's when I saw how tight all her clothes were. She then waltzed into my husband's office and tells him that I'm there. My husband quickly came out, almost running, and I asked him if everything was okay. That's when he said, yes, I just wanted to introduce you to my new assistant. Her name is Anna. Anna and I shook hands and I could feel that her palms were sweaty. That's when I knew something was up. My husband told her that she could leave for the day since he was going to be gone for a few hours. And guess what? She insisted on staying until he got back. And it's like she was doing it all because I was there. When my husband and I finally got into the car, I told him that I wanted him to fire her. He started to laugh and asked me why. I told him that the way she was dressed was incredibly inappropriate and that it looked like she was about to go party with all the makeup and hair that she had on. And of course, he told me I was overreacting and that he wouldn't fire her. Then he kissed me and reassured me that he wasn't even attracted to her. I asked him why he hired her and he told me that she was really smart and fast. Then I told him that if he didn't fire her, that him and I would have problems. He got in a bad mood for the rest of the day. Part 3 is up. Part 3, am I the asshole for wanting my husband to fire his hot assistant? Disclaimers is on my Storytime, send me on Instagram. After the second time I told him to fire her, he once again said no and got in a really bad mood for the rest of the day. That's when I told him that it was clear that she had a thing for him and that she was obviously dressing up and putting on all that makeup and hair just for him. He told me that she had a boyfriend and that she wasn't interested in him like that. But I don't believe it at all. You know, women's intuition? From the moment I met her, I got the feeling she was trying to show off her body and her palms were sweaty as in she was nervous. That's when I decided I would go to my husband's office every single day. And guess what? I decided to dress up too. I put on a sexy outfit to pick up my husband the following day, and she was dressed in the exact same way. Super tight leggings, crop top, and showing off cleavage. Her hair and makeup were done again. As soon as she saw me coming into the office, she gave me a really dirty look. I asked her if anything was wrong and she said no. I couldn't help myself and I told her that the way she looked at me was weird. Then she apologized and told me that she didn't mean anything by it. My husband came out of his office and told me that Anna, his assistant, had already brought him lunch and that he didn't need to go to lunch with me. I was furious. I gave my husband a kiss and went home. I insisted once again that he needed to fire her later and he said no. So guess what I did? I got myself a really hot personal trainer. Of course, my husband got really jealous. I told him that I wouldn't stop working out with him until he fires his assistant. He thinks I'm being terrible for wanting him to fire her, but I don't trust that girl one bit. And I can't say I trust my husband 100%. Am I the asshole? Anyway, my trainer has been flirting with me hardcore. I'm planning on making my husband as jealous as possible. Bye.
Am I the asshole for kicking my sister-in-law out after she threw away most of my single-use baby products and even formula? I, 19 female, have a 3-week-old baby girl. I do still live with my parents, but since I pay rent equally, they say I can have just as much of a say of who comes in and who comes from the house as they do. I've never actually taken advantage of this rule until recently though. I have a brother who's 26 and his wife is 24. They're crunchy parents to an 8-month-old. Basically what that is fucking stupid. They use reusable wipes, nappies, think formula is the epitome of evil, baby wearing, and the list goes on. I'm the complete opposite. Pacifiers, supplementing with formula due to low supply, disposable wipes, and nappies. They are completely against the products I use and often give me things like my sister-in-law's breast milk in bags, disposable nappies their loved one has grown out of, etc. I've used some, but it's not really my cup of tea. On Monday night, my brother and sister-in-law were minding my baby for me since it was my birthday, and my baby's father, not together, very close friends and co-parents, took me to get some dinner in one of my favorite fast food places. When I got home that evening, my sister-in-law said that she did some cleaning and threw out anything I don't need. This immediately gave me red flags, but they were in a hurry to get out the door and left almost immediately. When I went into the nursery, every disposable nappy and wipe pack was gone and replaced with some reusable cloth ones. Same with my formula. There was 8 tubs of it and all of it was gone. I'm not able to replace them at the moment and solely breastfeeding isn't sustainable for us. I was extremely angry and I just turned my phone off to avoid being mean to my sister-in-law. She and my brother came over yesterday to collect something they forgot, and that was when I confronted her. I told her she has to replace everything she dumped. When she said she can't afford to, I said fine, just get out and don't come back until I've been reimbursed or everything is replaced with the original items. My brother thinks I'm being a massive asshole and he's on his wife's side. Of fucking course. Our parents think I'm being completely reasonable here, but they think telling her essentially not to come back is taking it too far. So, am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for getting upset with my husband after he told me nothing will change while I'm pregnant? So me, 26 female, and my husband, 28 male, who I'll call Jake for this story, have been together for 5 years and married for 3. We have recently started trying for a baby as we both felt like that was the next step in our life together. And 3 weeks ago, I got a positive test back. We were really happy and told our families, and now my mom and mother-in-law want to throw a big baby shower for us. It was just super good news all around. Well, 2 nights ago, me and Jake were getting ready for bed when he reminds me to go through the house and make sure all the lights are off. Now, he can be a little lazy at times, and it has become a nightly routine for me to make sure all the lights are off that he leaves on before we go to bed. I wasn't feeling very well and asked if he could just do it since he wasn't doing anything, and he was literally standing by the door. He then tells me, "No, this is what is expected of you every night." I was just a little hurt, but I didn't want to fight with him, so I just did it. When I came back, Jake goes on this very long and unprovoked rant saying things like, just because you are pregnant does not mean anything will change, and you are still expected to cook, clean, and do all the chores every day because how can you be expected to be a mother if you can't handle a little work? He wasn't yelling or anything, he was just talking to me quietly as if I was 2 inches tall. I was shocked because I had never heard him say anything like this. This rant went on for about 30 minutes before I interjected and asked, "Well, what do you plan on doing to help me with all of this?" He then got extremely defensive, saying he works his ass off at his job to provide for me and what is going to be our future children. For context, I don't work at the moment. My job was not paying enough to justify me going in, so I am a full-time college student. He ended up saying that it doesn't matter how I feel physically or mentally, it's a mother's job to push through, and if he helped and babied me, I wouldn't be a good mother. I got extremely upset and started yelling, and I said that I wish I would have known this is how you felt before I got pregnant with your baby. There was a moment of silence before he started crying, and he left for the night to stay at his mother's house. What a bitch. He hasn't been back yet, and my mother-in-law and sister-in-law have called me berating me and saying I broke Jake's heart with what I said and I need to apologize immediately, and until I do, he isn't coming home. I don't know how to feel. So, am I the asshole for yelling at my husband after he said he isn't helping me with anything during the pregnancy because it's a mother's job to deal with it? Like, oh, this is making me mad. This is making me mad. Ew, I've never gotten this upset over a story. That's so fucking, like, that behavior is just disgusting. Am I wrong for not inviting my adoptive parents to my wedding? I, 30 female, am getting married to my fiance in May. I was adopted when I was a baby, and my adoptive parents in their 50s did their best to raise me and support me through college. We always had a good relationship, and I obviously love them. When I was 23, I decided to search for my biological parents, and long story short, they were teenagers, 14 when they had me. They were still together and they have 2 more children. They said they wanted to keep me, but they couldn't raise me, so they decided to put me up for adoption. The thing that really hurt me was that in my childhood and teenage years, they tried to contact my adoptive parents and have a relationship with me, but my adoptive parents refused. When I confronted my adoptive parents, they said that they were afraid that I might prefer my biological parents, so they tried to keep them away. No, why would you do that? I was hurt and disappointed and decided to go low contact. Over the years, we managed to build a better relationship, but it's not like before. So, for my wedding, I decided to ask my biological father to walk me down the aisle, and he obviously said yes. Oh, that must, what is called stake in the heart, When my adoptive parents learned this, they were hurt and said that their worst fear had come to reality, and if I insist to put my biological parents before them, then I shouldn't invite them to the wedding. Oh my god, I kind of get their point. I'm not saying you should invite both, but like, I don't know, this is sticky. I talked to them and suggested that both dads could walk me down the aisle. My adoptive parents refused because they said that they did all the hard work and they shouldn't have to share the spot. I told them I will give them a couple of days to think about it. My answer was that they're not invited then. Since then, all my adoptive families are calling me an asshole. So, am I the asshole here? I feel for your adoptive parents because you're raising a child as your own just for them to be older and be like, you know what? Fuck you, I'm gonna go find my real parents. But they shouldn't have held that information from you at the same time. But like, they raised you. Just because they're not your parents by blood doesn't make them your parents, right? I don't know. Just my opinion, yo.